As we probably all know, dating is hard. Just imagine, you match with someone on a dating app and you're so excited, but then you realize now you have to start the dreaded talking stage. For those of us who don't know, a talking stage is when two people are interested in each other, so they spend time together to see if they'd be compatible in a relationship. But what makes them so difficult? Well, turns out we have all these biases and default ways of thinking that might actually be turning us away from these potential loves of our life. I was once talking to a girl, let's call her Sarah, and the vibes were great, but one day she was just not texting me back at all. So naturally, I assumed she hated me and didn't want to talk to me anymore at all. But when I went a day without texting her, I understood that it was just because I was super busy and it had nothing to do with how I felt. This situation shows an idea in psychology called the actor-observer effect, where when we're thinking about others' behavior, we tend to associate it with their disposition or their personality, like me saying, well, she just hates me. But when we're thinking about our own behavior, we tend to attribute it to the situation, like me saying, oh, well, I was just super busy that day. Then there was Tina. We had been talking for a while, so we decided to meet up and go on an actual date. But she showed up looking pretty disheveled, and she kept complaining the whole time about how she was tired. I remember thinking to myself, wow, she seems pretty disorganized and doesn't really like trying very hard. Plus, she's probably not that fun to be around because of the constant complaining. Here, I made a fundamental attribution error. Tina might have been a perfectly good person, but I overlooked any potential situational factors, like maybe she didn't get a good night's sleep or just missed an alarm this morning. Instead, I associated her behavior with having personality traits that I just didn't really like. Sometimes, though, our biases might not just be turning us away from the right person, they might even attract us towards the wrong person. This is Haley. I matched with her because I thought she was attractive, so clearly there must be a ton of other good things about her, right? Turns out she was actually pretty cold and kind of mean to me. Unknowingly, I assumed that she would be a good person because of the halo effect. The halo effect says that we tend to attribute positive characteristics towards people that we already have a good impression of. In my case, I had a good impression of Haley because I was attracted to her, so I associated all these other positive traits to her, even though I turned out to be sorely mistaken. So, I've clearly been through a few unsuccessful talking stages. But you know what? I really don't think it's my fault. It's hard to continue the conversation when the vibes just aren't there, or maybe the timing just wasn't right. And I bet a lot of us here have probably thought the same thing at one point or another. Now, I hate to say this, but this is another time our minds are biased. We have this thing called the self-serving bias, which says that we tend to attribute our failures to our situation. So like saying a failed talking stage is just because of bad vibes. But at the same time, we tend to attribute our successes to our disposition or our personality. Meaning that when a talking stage finally does work out, you're going to think it's just because you're great at this and you just have an amazing personality. Now, you might even take this one step further and think that you're actually better than most people at talking stages. After all, you're just so amazing. In that case, you would be falling victim to the above average effect, which says that we all tend to think that we're above average on things that are important to us, even though mathematically we can't all be above average. So clearly, we have a lot of biases. So is that just it? Are we doomed to live in a never-ending cycle of bad impressions and failed talking stages? Well, no. By being aware of these biases, we can counteract them by directing our attention towards information that we might typically ignore. So next time someone doesn't text you back right away, don't panic. Think about what kind of situation they might actually be in. Or when you see someone, don't just assume they're going to be a good person just because you find them attractive. Armed with this new information, hopefully we can all go out and reconsider some of our impressions of our friends, coworkers, and even our talking stages. Because who knows, especially with one of those talking stages, they might end up being the love of your life. Thank you.